And now for our next news special report.
Imagine this, Dr. Phil sitting across from Joe Rogan, leaning in with a grave expression. Joe, we're facing a silent invasion, he says. Chinese nationals are buying up American farmland, and you won't believe where. Rogan's eyes widen as Dr. Phil reveals the shocking truth. These aren't random purchases. They're strategic moves targeting land near our most sensitive military installations. Brace yourselves for a jaw-dropping expose that will leave you questioning everything. Now, patriots, we're at a critical moment. As we expose this silent invasion, our very ability to bring you the truth is under threat. Just like these Chinese land grabs forces are trying to encircle and suffocate independent media. Next News Network is in the fight of its life, and we urgently need your support. Without your help, we risk being silenced forever. So go to the links in the description below and help us keep this beacon of truth shining. We can't let those who want to suppress the truth win. Your action today will decide our fate. Let's stand together. Now, the scope of these Chinese land acquisitions is alarming. While the total acreage may seem small compared to overall U.S. farmland, it's the strategic locations that should terrify every American. Now, these aren't random purchases. They are calculated moves targeting land adjacent to our most sensitive military operations. We're talking about bases where cutting-edge military tech is developed and tested, where our elite forces train. Having Chinese-owned land so close to these facilities is an open invitation for espionage and surveillance. On the Joe Rogan podcast, Dr. Phil sounded the alarm about the suspicious locations of Chinese-owned farmland. What he revealed will shock you. Watch.
I've then dug into what's happening with Chinese buying, the Chinese government or Chinese nationals buying farmland. And I've got a map, if I can find it, of where they're buying this land, and it's around U.S. military installations. They're buying up land around U.S. military installations, and so when you look at the amount of land that they're buying, it's not all that much. I mean, it's a lot of land, but given as much land as there is, it's like maybe less than 1%. But when you look at it strategically around military installations, it's really concerning. And then when you look at what's happening at those military installations that they have land around, like B-2 stealth bomber training, drone training, and all, it's very, very troubling.
Now let's zoom in on one particularly troubling case. Sun Guangzhen, a Chinese billionaire with ties to the Chinese military, now owns a staggering 100,000 acres in Texas. His initial plans were for a wind farm that were met with justified suspicion, given the land's proximity to a critical military base. Thankfully, those plans were blocked. But the fact that he was able to acquire such a strategically significant piece of land in the first place should set off alarm bells nationwide. Rogan and Dr. Phil dug deeper into this disturbing situation, and you won't believe what they uncovered. Watch.
It's kind of crazy that the United States has been invaded. And when did that start? With the purchase of farmland?
You know, it's been going on.
For how long? Like when did it? So this is talking about Sun owns 40% of Chinese-owned land in the U.S. He owns over 100,000 acres of land in Valverde County, Texas. Although his two companies, Brazos, Highland Properties, and Harvest, Texas, through his two companies. His purchases in 2016, 2017, his plans to build a wind farm, as well as his purported ties to Chinese military, drew scrutiny in Texas several years after his acquisitions. He ultimately was denied permission to proceed with his wind farm plans. So they own the land, but they won't let him proceed with the wind farm.
Yeah, and they're building a wind farm where it's not very windy. But it does butt up against a strategic military installment.
Now, it's not just the land itself. Chinese entities are also getting their hands on vital agricultural infrastructure like the grain elevators where American farmers sell their crops. This means that Chinese-owned companies have the power to bring local farming economies to their knees simply by refusing to buy. It's a stranglehold on American agriculture that should deeply concern us all. Dr. Phil, he shared a chilling conversation he had with a farmer that reveals the true extent of China's control. Watch.
Now, we had a man on talking about this, a farmer, and he said they also own the grain elevator where we sell our grain. The Chinese own that. The Chinese government owns that. So, and I said Chinese government. Chinese own that. Now, is it the government? Is it a government agent? Who owns it? He said it's Chinese owned and controlled. If they decide to stop buying his grain, I said, what happens? He said, well,
Fucked.
we're out of business.
Now, despite the severity of the threat, the mainstream media has been largely silent. It's a deafening failure to inform the public about a matter of immense national importance. We deserve transparency, and we deserve leaders who will take decisive action to safeguard our nation. When Rogan and Dr. Phil examined the map of the Chinese-owned farmland and military bases, Rogan's reaction said it all. So brace yourself for this jaw-dropping reveal. Watch.
What is this?
This is this map with the military installations. You got to look at this.
Is it similar to what he just showed?
No.
Jamie just showed where the farmland was.
Yeah,
So
this is different. Look
Okay.
at this.
So there's the military.
That's the farmland. There's the military installations on top of it.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Look at that. Now, is that,
Look how much farmland they have.
but is that accidental? Come on. That's not random.
It doesn't seem too random, but it also seems amazing how much farmland they have.
Yeah.
Was this always legal? Is that the part of the problem with our open society? That any foreign country can come over here, any foreign investor can come over here and buy land?
Well, I thought there was restrictions on what foreign entities could buy.
So number one is Canada. Canada has the most farmland. They own 12.8 million acres here. Netherlands owns 4.9. Italy owns 2.7. UK 2.5. Germany 2.3. And China
380,000.
380,000. And this is as of 2023,
summer.
June of last year. Yeah, it seems pretty strategic where it's owned. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you put that back up for a second, let me tell you what's at some of these places.
What it says right at the beginning is
Land near the Air Force Base in Grand Forks, North Dakota, sending lawmakers into a frenzy in 2021. Yeah, there's another thing that Mike Baker, who's from the CIA, had brought up, is that one of the things that they're doing is selling cell phone tower equipment and selling routers and undercutting other companies and making like really good deals so they can set up these cheap routers and cell phone companies. And, a lot of these have been proven, especially with the company Huawei, right? When they outlawed Huawei from selling phones in this country.
Yeah.
They were proven that some of their technology has third-party access. They can do things and siphon information and perhaps even, intercept cell phone signals.
Yeah. Well, at that, where they bought in Utah, it's the largest supersonic authorized restricted airspace in the United States. They've got land right next to it. Whitman Air Force Base, B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber Base, missile and drone operations, MQ-9 Reaper, Global Strike Command, 3 intercontinental ballistic missile wings, and they're right next to it. Fort Liberty, they're right next to it. I mean, all of that stuff. Why would you want your biggest global threat next to those? You have no idea what they have there.
I don't play StarCraft, but I imagine if I was watching someone play StarCraft and all this was setting up, I'm like, oh, they're going to get smoked.
Yeah, it's just.
It's insane.
I think you got to be concerned.
But it's just weird that it's legal. It really is. It's really weird, and especially given what we know about Chinese corporations. that they are a part of the government. They work hand in hand. They don't get to be independent.
Yeah, and
So still, lawmakers from both parties want to limit purchases by Chinese companies, especially those with ties to the Chinese government, which is all of them, and individuals. To this end, there are several bills in Congress aimed at limiting Chinese ownership. Separately, the Biden administration is tightening its rules over who can buy land near military bases.
Now, there have been some signs of progress, with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle pushing for tighter restrictions on foreign land ownership near military bases. In South Dakota, Governor Kristi Noem is leading the charge with bold legislation. Watch now a news report on her stance against foreign adversaries.
Governor Kristi Noem has signed a bill to prevent 6 foreign governments and their agencies from buying ag land in the state. She describes those 6 nations as evil. The new law blocks China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela from owning South Dakota agriculture land. It also closes loopholes that allowed U.S. domestic companies that are owned by foreign entities or individuals to purchase land. And it strengthens penalties for violating ownership laws. Governor Noem has called protecting the food supply a national security issue. She says foreign adversaries will do all they can to control America, and that once they control the food supply, they will control the country.
But these efforts need to go further. We need ironclad rules that will stop adversarial foreign powers from gaining even an inch of American soil that could compromise our security. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. As we reflect on this silent invasion, one question looms. Why is Biden doing nothing? With his and Hunter's ties to China, are they turning a blind eye to these land grabs near our military bases, just like the Chinese spy balloon? Biden must take decisive action to protect our national security. Half measures won't cut it. We need a leader putting America first, not beholden to Chinese interests. This isn't about politics. It's about our safety and our sovereignty. We can't let this critical issue be ignored. Patriots demand change and a strong response because the future of our nation depends on it.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.